Well, here it is, Stone Soup, the 62 Dodge Lancer project. Now, I'm a Ford guy, so I don't really know much about these Dodges, but we're going to try and get this thing running better than it is. It is, in fact, running, which is a little surprising since there's not much else good with it, but yeah, let me show you around. So it is pretty rusty and has a tire that goes flat. It does actually hold air for a little bit, but and then on the back it has wheels and tires that are the wrong size. But overall it's a pretty cool car, I guess. Got some stickers on the back window from channels that have already worked on it. Dead Dodge Garage. Go check him out. His name's Jaime. I think that's Jamie's friend. And then that is Cut Rate Auto Parts. It is a complete car, and the glass is all pretty good, except it is missing a window on the driver's side, and this passenger side window doesn't roll up or down. And it definitely has the weight reduction package, as you can see. And as far as I know, the brakes don't work super well, so I think you just are supposed to jam your feet through the floor over there and slow yourself down. That's what makes the most sense to me anyway. Now the hood does open on this car, but it's a little bit different. And of course, this thing has the Leaning Tower of Power, 225 slant 6. I love inline 6 engines, and so this is right up my alley. Overall, honestly, the engine looks like it's mostly complete and not in too bad a condition. Battery is kind of just flopped in here. The water pump is real bad. This radiator is not original and just kind of held in here with some random tack welds and sheet metal screws. You know, it's got extra spark power because it's got two coils, one, you know, that's actually attached in here and one that's just kind of flopping around. It also has twice the fuel pumpage. There's a mechanical fuel pump down there that's not connected, and an electric one right here that is connected. Now this dip can is a good little protector for the carburetor, but I'm going to show you this thing actually runs. And the key seems to be just completely missing, but Jaime wired up this fancy little starting system where you basically have to hotwire the car every time you want to run it. So that starts the electric fuel pump, you can hear that, and connects the ignition on, and then we just jump the starter like that. Let's see if we can get it running. Here we go. Oh. The accelerator, though, it's just kind of, it's not really attached to anything down here. It just kind of flops around, so it only kind of, I mean, I don't know, that works pretty good. I guess, you know, Dodge probably did that from the factory. What am I saying? And then to turn it off, oops, you just disconnect those wires. The other great thing is this column shifter here. Now, I think Jaime tried to fix this because there's some welds on there, but you can get it into third and second gear okay, but reverse and first, you have to come out here and, I mean, yeah, you have to push down on that, and that puts it in, that would be reverse, and then like that is first. and then we'll put it back in neutral. So basically, to drive the car, to move it back and forth, you have to have it off, come out here, put it into the gear that you want, get in, push in the clutch, start the car, and then drive it. But then, like, you know, you're going in first gear, whatever, and then let's say you want to reverse, you gotta stop, turn the car off, come out here, put it in reverse, and then get back in and do it all over again. Now this door sort of works. It opens and it closes, but it does not latch. So that's less than optimal. The other door, however, the other door actually doesn't open at all. So that's a plus. The button doesn't even work. And I've already tried the windows. None of the windows roll down either. Well, that one doesn't roll up because it's already down. Now, the trunk opens. But as you can see, the latch is right there. Used to be right on there, you know, and this would actually latch and be secure, but it's not. Those are our two extra original wheels. I'm assuming that those tires are just absolutely toast, and that's why somebody put the other wheels on. That is, I don't know what that is. I don't think that belongs to this car. Those are the hood hinges, and I think Scott from Heaven's Mopars put some PB Blaster on there, so maybe those will start working again. We have a, looks like used to be new head gasket. Somebody threw back here, so maybe this car needs a head gasket replacement. That is the old fuel tank. And ooh, a sock. That's good stuff. Some other random bits of, ooh, an adjustable, it's a crescent wrench. Huh. Okay. So the big question is, what are we going to do with this car? Well, if you don't know, this belongs to Vic over at Functional Histories, and Scott from Heaven's Mopars donated this car to him. It's making its way across the United States, getting handed off to different YouTubers to do a little bit of work on. That's why it's called Stone Soup. So what I'm going to do with it, and now that it's running, I've got some plans to get this running better, and we're going to replace that steering column so we can fix the shifter. We've got a replacement one of those from Scott at Heaven's Mopars, and we're gonna get this engine dialed in, and then hopefully with that shifter and getting everything all working properly, we ought to be able to drive the car a bit. I also have a couple little surprises we're going to throw in here for Vic, and that should be pretty fun too. First thing I'm going to do is take this rocker cover off, and we're going to see how much sludge or how clean this engine is on the inside. It's going to tell us a lot about the life of this engine, and we'll see. You know, the rest of the car is pretty rough, but maybe the engine isn't. Okay, I've got all the bolts out, so moment of truth. Before we pop this off, I did notice this is the vacuum line that was going from the carburetor down to the vacuum advance, and it has seen better days. It is split right here on the end that was connected to the carb, and I don't even know if it was connected down at the vacuum advance. It might have just been kind of laying down there. So part of our problem might be a vacuum leak because, you know, vacuum. So anyway, let's get this rocker cover off. Place your bets now. Is it going to be gross or is it going to be clean? This hose is binding up. Let's see if we'll make a mess pulling this off. See if there's any coolant in the heater core. Oh, no coolant. Was there any in here? Oh, no coolant at all. Oh, well, that's good to know. Okay. Oh. I don't know if it's going to come off without pulling this box off. Ooh. Well, it's definitely something under there. I'm going to remove this heater box so we can get this all the way off. Well, the bottom screws on that heater box were blocked, but then I found out I could just kind of jimmy the rocker cover out of the way, and well, let's just say that it could be better. Definitely not the worst I've seen, but you know what? That is pretty grimy, pretty sludgy. That's kind of to be expected. Also, I don't know what kind of... There are these little fibers on the gasket here. I don't know what that's all about. It's almost like it was a cork gasket. It looks like a cork gasket. Some sort of gasket reinforced with some fibers. Which means it's probably pretty old. I don't think they do that anymore. And I've never seen it, so... I don't know. Anybody ever seen this? With the strings in the gasket? Anyway, this is... Well, I was hoping that it would just be fine underneath. Oh my! I didn't realize that. I don't know if you can see it on camera. There's actually spider webs in between some of the rockers. So there's potentially spiders in here. Oh, not only that, but oh man. Let's see. Gotta get the camera closer here. There's a lot of play there. That is definitely maladjusted. That one's a little bit better, but it's still pretty loose. Oh, these are all... Actually, that one looks like it's probably okay. That one definitely is not. That one looks like it's okay. Well, lots of things are gonna need adjusting. Well, I did a compression test on Stone Soup last night, but the battery in the camera was dead. So I did film a short with my phone. You can see that on my channel. But the results were 100 PSI, cylinder 1, cylinder 2 was 95, cylinder 3 was 80, and then 4, 5, 6 were all 90. So that's good. I was a little bit nervous that maybe I was going to have to pull this head and look for some things like issues with the valves or maybe a blown head gasket, and that head gasket in the trunk made me a little concerned. But I don't think we're going to have to pull the head. But I am going to pull the intake manifold and the exhaust manifold just so that I can see in there and kind of see the valves. And we're going to clean up the intake a little bit, make it a little shiny. got it off. Unfortunately, tragedy struck and this bolt broke. I was being really careful and got everything else off no problem, but this one I'd put just a little bit of torque on it and it broke right off. So I'll have to try and get that out later. And then these bolts that are connecting the intake to the exhaust manifold, they are not wanting to budge. So I'm going to let them soak for a bit before I try to separate the two here. I really kind of just want to get the intake out and leave the exhaust manifold in here for now. But this intake exhaust manifold gasket looks okay-ish. I mean, it's pretty old and worn out, but it doesn't look like it was leaking anywhere, which is good. I'm going to get a flashlight and see if I can't see inside those ports. The exhaust ports do look like they've got quite a bit of buildup in them. So I'd say this engine probably has quite a few miles on it. So while we're waiting for those bolts to soak and loosen up, I'm going to go ahead and clean up this rocker cover and prep it for some paint. Outside came pretty clean. We're gonna keep going on that though, and inside is, well, it's better. Good enough for stone soup. there it is. Turned out pretty cool. The next thing we're gonna do is remove this steering column because I've got another one that has shifters that work. Get these undone. Oh, we probably should undo the wiring too. There we go. Also, I figured out why this clutch is so feels kind of weird. It's because, I mean, it's got a bungee. That's what returns the clutch pedal. So get some PB Blaster on those. Oh, those look really crusty. Like maybe have to sit for a couple days crusty. Oh, how long is this bolt? Okay, is it just me, or is that an excessively long bolt for just this little bracket? Oh. Oh, there's another bolt up here? That's great. Ah, that one's coming a lot easier. Let's see what happens on the other side. No? Okay. 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 Well, that is mostly free. So here's a riddle for you. How many cans of PB Blaster does it take to get a steering column out? I've been soaking these bolts on the steering column for a few days now with the PB Blaster, and I hope they will come loose without breaking. Maybe. Oh, I think that's successful. Okay, okay. That one's coming loose, that's good. Next one. Oh, yes. That feels good. Okay. This one. Oops. Oh. And that one's slipping. Come on. Oh, well, I've rounded that one over a little bit. I need more leverage. Okay, here we go. More leverage and a 6-point socket instead of a 12-point. Let's see.
Also, with really rusted bolts like this, you want to soak them, and then you want to work them back and forth. And it takes a little extra time, but you're less likely to break them. Let's see if we can get this other one now. The one I kind of rounded off a little bit. 6-point socket to the rescue, maybe. Oh, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oops. Oh, it fell through the hole in the floor. Okay. It's free, except we're gonna have to undo this clutch return bungee to get this thing out. There we go. Come free.
After much difficulty, I got the old steering column out. And the reason we're replacing this is because of this area right here, this shifter. You can see this rubber bushing thing is completely destroyed, and the actual shifter fork thing here has broken off and then been welded back on, and then it's still broken and messed up, and I wasn't able to shift into first or reverse with it like this. So Scott from Heaven's Mopars pulled this out of a junkyard car, I believe, and it's the same thing, but this one has a properly working shifter here. So I have the shift lever out of the old one that I'm going to put in this new one, and we're just going to put this back in the car the way that one came out, and hopefully it goes in easier than that one came out. Aha! Yes.
Where's that wrench? There it is. Why does this go like that? Why did they build it like this? It doesn't even fit. What am I not doing right? Is this not the right bolt? What is going on? Oh, Dang it. Just dropped that through the floor onto the ground. There we go. Work on a Dodge, they said. It'd be fun, they said. Oh, I just dropped my wrench through the floor. Okay, we have reverse. That should be first. Yes. Okay. That should be second. Yes. And that should be third. All right, we have all three of our gears and reverse. After much weeping and gnashing of teeth, the new steering column is in the car. And I'm gonna take a break. Well, it's another day in the saga of Stone Soup, and today I'm going to adjust the valves. I was thinking about taking the head off and taking these rockers off and giving them a good clean since they're pretty sludgy, but I've decided I'm just going to adjust them, put the rocker cover back on, and then put some seafoam in the crankcase and run it a bit, and then hopefully that'll knock most of the sludge off, maybe. And then when Whitty gets it, he's planning on changing the oil, and maybe a lot of that junk will come out. Maybe. So normally when you're adjusting valves, you want the engine up to operating temperature and the engine running while you are adjusting them. That's the right way to do it. However, that's not the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it with the engine cold because, you know, I've got it kind of partially disassembled here, and we're just trying to get close enough. So the factory spec I looked up on this is 10 thousandths on the intake and 20 10,000ths on the exhaust. So we're going to shoot for 12 10,000ths on the intake and 22 on the exhaust, because as things warm up they kind of expand and tolerances get a little bit tighter. That should give us enough wiggle room that we're not clamping the valves too tight with the rockers, and hopefully that'll get us in the ballpark and get everything kind of evened out. So the procedure is going to go like this. We're going to rotate the engine over by hand until both the intake and the exhaust valves are completely decompressed and not moving at all on cylinder number 1. Then we'll adjust those, we'll move on to cylinder 2, and so on. Now that we have our valves adjusted somewhat correctly, I'm going to go ahead and scrape the gasket surface here, and we'll put the rocker cover back on.
originally I was going to take that intake manifold out and clean it and paint it as well, but these bolts are being an absolute pain. This one is just kind of spinning loose. I think it is probably broken. And these two don't want to budge. I've soaked them in PB Blaster and I've put a little torque on them, but they make me a little nervous. So I'm going to leave it how it is. But I did clean up the old gasket that was on here and the old gasket where the carburetor was. And I've got new gaskets for that. So hopefully we'll get a good seal and no leaks. Not that there was any before, but you know, I was going to take it off and clean it up, so might as well replace the gaskets. Alright, I have everything put back together. Let's make sure this thing still runs. One more thing to note, that old carb gasket was pretty crusty, so I decided to replace it. The kit that I bought with the intake manifold gasket I thought had the correct gasket, but it was too big, so I had to cut my own. It's not ideal, but it should work. Alright, cross your fingers. See if we can put some fuel in here. See if that does the trick.
new sound. I don't know what the deal is with that.
Well, it's the next day, and I'm gonna tackle that whistle that I created. It seems to go away when you mess with the choke, and that choke is connected to a vacuum port on the intake, I think. It's kind of a weird choke setup. Chrysler, what were you thinking? I don't know. Anyway, got to thinking, I bet it's that gasket I made. So I pulled it out. You can see this little hole here. I'm pretty sure that is the vacuum port that goes to the choke. And I did kind of mess it up there, and it was in there like that. So I got to thinking, you know what? The carburetor that is on Stone Soup is a Carter. I wonder if I actually have the correct gasket. So this is where I keep extra stuff. Here's extra parts to a Carter YF rebuild kit for a Ford, mind you. Let's see. Hard to do this with one hand. Aha. I bet that is the gasket we need. I'd say that is the right size. And it even has a hole in the right place. So, we have an actual carb gasket. And that is why you always hold on to your spare parts. Another thing I noticed was these spark plug cables are not attaching to the spark plugs the way that they should. So, found some more spark plug cables. These came off of a Ford as well, and I think these will work just fine. And don't forget your dielectric grease. I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna put some sea foam in the crankcase to help break up that sludge. And then maybe by the time Whitty gets to changing the oil, all this junk will come out, or at least the majority of it. Now this says to add 1 ounce for each quart of oil in the crankcase, and this is a 16-ounce can, and I would assume there's about 5 quarts in here. So we're gonna put, you know what, just gonna eyeball it, about 1/3 of a can. A bit more. All right, that's about 1/3 of a can. Well, I'd say it's running pretty good now that it has Ford parts, which, you know, basically makes it a Ford. There. Sorry, Vic, but I plan on driving this around the neighborhood, and I just can't be seen around town driving a Dodge. So right now you start Stone Soup like this. Now that's fine for Grand Theft Auto, but Stone Soup is supposed to be a race car, so I built us a race car ignition system with a ignition and fuel pump on and then a starter button. I had these switches just laying around. Sweet. And this bracket I made out of an aluminum mud flap off of something, I don't know. It was a piece of aluminum scrap I had in the bed of the truck. Let's see. Oh. Aha. So now you start Stone Soup like this. Oh yeah, also, we got a new horn. Horn's all installed. Check it out. That's awesome. Well, now we have to drive it. Ooh, almost. Come on. Let's see. Second gear. Oh, we got second gear. Hey, the speedometer kind of sort of works. Not really. This one. Oh, the brakes only sort of kind of work. Oh, actually, the brakes really work. Oh, that's why it's having so much trouble. Uh-oh. Okay, so it's not that the brakes don't work, it's that the brakes are stuck. And that's why it was so hard to push when we were in Spokane. And yeah, okay. So yeah, to whoever's doing the brakes, they're stuck on. Well, it runs a little bit better, but it still runs kind of rough. The brakes being locked up, that is putting extra strain on it as it's trying to get moving. But now we need to add some finishing touches, and then we should be ready for a burnout. There's only one thing left to do. We're gonna do a burnout. Well, I guess my mod here didn't really work the way I wanted to. I guess it is still a Dodge after all. Anyway, I got quite a bit done that I wanted to do, but there are some things that I just didn't have time for. Whitty should be here any time to come pick up the car, and a couple things that still need to be done that I was going to do but didn't get a chance to do is I got a new water pump. Since the old one Jaime wrote real bad on, this one's brand new, so I wrote real good. Leave that in the car for somebody else to replace. I was gonna put a timing light on it and adjust the ignition timing, but after messing with the cap and putting the plug wires in, I decided it was going to be an absolute pain to reach down there and adjust the distributor. So I moved on to other things and then ended up not having enough time to do it after all. But there's a long list of things that still need to be done to this car. There is a list in there that Scott from Heaven's Mopars made of everything that each person does. I'll create a list on there of all the things that I did, and then I might get another piece of cardboard or something and write a list of things that still need to be done, because it's quite a few. You know, I mean, I like the old patina and stuff, but certain things need to be fixed, like the headlight and lots of other things. In addition to the water pump, I'm also donating this vintage Billings wrench. It's a 1/2 inch on one side and 9/16 on the other. This is the best type of wrench to carry in this old vehicle because the majority of the bolts are these two sizes, so that's going in there. Another thing is I put some sea foam in the crankcase to help loosen stuff up. There's still 1/2 or 2/3 of a can, so that's staying in the car for the future. And then also a jar of gasoline.
We arrived.
Oh yeah.
Good old U-Haul.
Well, what do you think of the car?
I like it. It's good. It's got some character, but it's got some roughness to it. But that tends to be any project vehicle I've ever undertaken myself, so yeah.
Do you want to drive it up on the trail, or you want me to drive it up there?
Let me give it a shot. I don't know how well this is going to go, but we're going to try.
Okay.
I got to learn at some point. I've never done a 3 on the tree, so.
Okay, I'll show you. Jar of gasoline.